Well, hello, hello, hello. I just wanted to say, hey, UFC 319 is upon us. It's coming up on us pretty quick. You got DDP versus Hamzat Chimaev. Look, there's been a lot going into this fight. All the fight announcements coming up in terms of all the things that people are excited about this fight. This is one of those fights that, like, there's so many unknowns, I think, about Hamza. Everyone's like, okay, what about the cardio? What about this? What about that? And I would have to agree with them on all of them. I think if you guys have gone back and listened to my podcast with Big John McCarthy and the one I do with also with Angelo for Bad Takes, you guys would understand that there's to me a lot of things that still need to be answered. And having this conversation with Angelo even earlier this morning and about how the UFC has a tendency to take those undefeated fighters and push them to the top as fast as they can. Because once the O goes, it's very much like boxing, except we continue to praise those fighters that have only lost one time and maybe two or three or whatever it is. I mean, shit, Randy Couture, BJ Penn. I mean, their records are almost 50-50s. You know, they're like 500 records, but they're still legends in the sport. People that have put on absolutely just amazing fights. And I look at this, it's rare to have somebody at this level fighting for the UFC or for any title, as a matter of fact, fighting for any title, especially the UFC title, and being undefeated, getting here undefeated. So Chimaev being one of them, Elliott being another. I mean, like Habib being one. That's what made these fighters so spectacular, was that they have got to the upper echelon of fighters and being undefeated and doing it the way that they've done it. Whether Elliott knocking guys out, Elliott, you know, with Jai Herbert getting rocked, coming back and then finishing them, like those are all things that make these fighters spectacular. Chimaev, every single one of his fights, I believe in the UFC, I saw a stat the other day that every single one of his fights, he's gotten a takedown within the first minute. Doesn't surprise me. Absolutely a fantastic wrestler. Probably hands down one of the best wrestlers ever to grace the octagon. I put him right up there with Habib. I put him right up there with other fighters that, you know, Randy Couture's, that are just, they always have a tendency to get this fight to the ground. But he has gotten the fight to the ground in probably record-setting times. All of his, I think, 6 or 7 fights, 7 or 8 fights, he's gotten the fight to the ground in under a minute. Some of them 16 seconds, some of them 11 seconds, some of them like less than 2 or 3 seconds. Like you're in that range of walking across, not even touching gloves, shooting from a distance. A lot of fighters get mocked for shooting from so far away. This guy, not so much. He's explosive. He pushes the pace. He does all the things that that people that we talk about, and he does such a great job in pressing that action in that first round, that first 2 rounds. And so I look at that and I think to myself, man, can DDP stay on his feet in the first minute? I don't think so. DDP's wrestling is not very good. I mean, he is from South Africa. South Africa is not known for having world-class wrestling, even though one of my best friends is from South Africa, and he came over to wrestle in college with me, from South Africa. And I've spent time over in South Africa. I've spent over about a month there in South Africa, living with my friend's family, and then also traveling around Cape Town. But just for them, they're not known for their wrestling. Not like Iran, not like the US now, not like the Russia and Dagestan areas. Not like that. South Africa's not known for their wrestling and that type of atmosphere. Hamzat Chimaev, though, is somebody who will bring the action. He will press the pace. But there's all the questions. And the questions that I was going to get to was this. He is the guy that at 170, I had these questions myself. At 170, was he cutting too much weight? Or was it COVID really got to him and ruined his lungs? Now, I have experience with some friends, that one of my friends here in Texas who got COVID really bad. Destroyed his lungs. Basically, wasn't able to fly anymore because of the pressure on the plane. So he started getting stem cells done at CPI Stem Cells down in Tijuana, Mexico, and he's been able to now to fly, but only can fly for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And after that, the pressure starts to get to him, and he has to actually get off. He has to get off the plane. Like it starts to make him panic a little bit. Is that something that happened? Or was it the weight cut for Chimaev to get down to 170? He missed the weight at like 8 pounds, 9 pounds, I believe. When he was supposed to fight Nate Diaz, that fight didn't come to fruition. He ended up fighting Kevin Holland. They had a catch weight at 180. Was it the weight cut, or was it the fact that he's got some issues with his lungs because of COVID? I think that this fight right now at 185 pounds for the 185-pound title is going to answer a lot of questions. Dricus is one of those guys that he fights a very herky-jerky fight. He's a very difficult fighter to game plan for and prep for. Will Chimaev be able to get the takedown? Yes. Will Dricus be able to survive and get back up to the feet? I believe he will. Now, that's why we fight the fight, is to see exactly how this is going to go down. Take a look at when, I know that we're comparing, I'm not trying to compare the two, but I'm saying take a look at Kamaru Usman, when he got taken down by Chimaev. He got dominated in that first round. You could have likely said it was a 10-8 round. In that first round, though, he was not able to fight. He was not able to finish Kamaru Usman. Dricus being the bigger fighter. Maybe not bigger than Chimaev. I say they're about equal. Dricus maybe being a little bit thicker. Chimaev being a little bit, maybe like an inch taller. I think on paper, that's what it says. I think Dricus is like, what, 6 foot or something like that. I think Chimaev 6'1", somewhere around there. Anyways, they're basically the same. Thickness, though, I'm going to give to DDP, like his legs, his trunk, his shoulders, everything like that. A little bit thicker and muscular wise. Chimaev, a little bit, I feel a little bit taller and slender, but also is very, very wide back, and explosive. But Ken Dricus, I think we're going to see a lot in this fight about Khamzat being able to survive as the fight, or not Khamzat, but being able to carry himself through the rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's what I think the unknown is. Like for me, it is the not the big enough sample size of fighting guys at 170, not making the weight, beating Kevin Holland. I'm not going to put too much on it. Kevin Holland made 170, and then he had to fight Khamzat, who missed weight, and then he had to fight him at 180 at the catch weight. So I don't put too much into that fight. Everyone does. I don't. And then you take the Gilbert Burns fight. He made the weight at 170. Then he fatigued and got tired in the third, got dropped in the third. So those are all things that I think play in my mind. Then he fights Kamaru Usman, I believe, on 5 days' notice. And Kamaru coming up, Kamaru's a bigger welterweight. I'll give him that. Physically built like a Greek god, built like a brick shit house, Kamaru Usman is. And just an overall great athlete who can wrestle. At that time, though, there was a lot of talk that his knees were bad. He couldn't wrestle anymore. And that Khamzat had his way with him in the first round. But Kamaru Usman is not someone who's been known to be on his back, not known to like hang out on the bottom. He's not a bottom grappler type position guy. He is a top pressure, takedown, smother you, ground you out, like just do what Chimaev did to him. That's who Kamaru Usman is. So I don't know how to play that fight without saying, hey, and then in second round, the round was a little bit closer. Chimaev still won the round. Third round, Usman wins the round. Going into that third, do you look at it? How do you as an analyst, or how do you as a fan, how do you give Chimaev that type of credit? Like, how do you look at that fight and go, okay, look, you just fought a guy who came in on 5 days notice, who could wrestle a little bit. I think Usman's got way better wrestling than DDP, but DDP is also a very good grappler, and he's been on his back several times. I saw this video, and I was talking with this about Angelo. I've seen it multiple times. I think he grappled with like a bunch of Gracie guys, at a tournament. He basically went through every single one of them and was able to win. And so to say that he can't grapple off the bottom, or he can't get up off the bottom with Chimaev, I'm just not going to say that. I can't say that. Now, I know that it's different when there's striking involved. I know that it's different when you've got a world-class wrestler on top of you, and also throwing punches. That does change your grappling a little bit. But DDP is one of those guys that he doesn't look the part. He looks real clunky. I think we've said this. I saw a video the other day of all the ways you're like, dang, this guy's the champion. This guy's catching the leg, trying to hit a double leg, misses, stumbles forward, and then like falls on top of Izzy. And that's just not going to happen with Chimaev. Chimaev's going to scramble. He's going to push. He's going to circle around, get to the hips, get to the back, sit him to his hip. He's going to put his hooks in, get him the 3/4 mount. He's going to drive him to the fence. Going to go Dagestani handcuff. He's going to do all the things that we expect him to do in that first round, second round. But as this fight goes on, they get a little bit slipperier. Like, how will he be able to still get this fight to the ground? Will he have the cardio to push it? I think because he's fighting at 185 now. I think because the weight cut was killing him at 170. Maybe it was some of the COVID, but I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say that it had to do with the weight cut. And so when I say it has to do with the weight cut, I think we're going to see a lot if this fight gets into rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to see a lot of, if that's true. I mean, these are questions that I have as a professional fighter, as a former professional fighter. I want to know, like, is it the cardio? Because I saw the video of him. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's Hamzat. Check out Aaron Pico's workout. They worked out together with Sam Calavita in the LA area out of the garage. And you could see Hamzat like basically keeping up with Aaron Pico, who's a smaller fighter, 145-pound fighter, who is known for his cardio and conditioning. And he's able to push on Aaron Pico as well in terms of doing push-ups uphill, bear crawls uphill, backwards bear crawl uphill, inchworms uphill. Like, he's able to do all those things, pushing himself on the assault bike with straps and bands on him. He's able to do those things. That's very difficult to do, whether you're in shape or you're just getting ready to get, if you're not in shape. I think that one of two things is that Chimaev, because I've heard all these stories about him living in the gym, coaches having to kick him out of the gym, but we hear that all the time. Could all just be made up rumors. But Chimaev is somebody that I kind of believe it. I kind of believe that he could be a guy that has been, his coaches are like, hey man, you got to get out of the gym, man. You got to go out and experiment, or not experiment, but you have to get out, get rest, get some food in you, and come back and get refreshed. Come back and train refreshed. I could see that happening, because there is another avenue of, like, where maybe it's not COVID lungs. Maybe it's not that he was cutting the weight down to one set. Maybe it's that he's overtrained. A lot of people don't understand that being overtrained is being worse than undertrained. And I'll give you an example is that how many times have we seen guys like Kamaru Usman come in on short notice and still look good in the third round, because they always still kind of train a little bit. They'll train, once a day, like on the off season, maybe get a run in here and there, maybe do some, a couple little, workouts, with cardio wise. And then also to come in, hit mitts, wrestle a little bit, grapple a little bit. They keep their body in physical shape because they know at any point you can get a call and be like, hey, 6 weeks, we need you to main event this, at that level. So that being said, it sometimes is more, sometimes worse, not sometimes, actually all the time worse to be overtrained than it is to be undertrained. Undertrained, you can still perform. You can still dig deep. You can still try to push your muscles through. If you're still doing a little bit of work, a little bit of cardio, a little bit of mitt work, which most professional fighters are, you can power through. And styles make matchups. And it can make it easy for you. It can make it difficult for you. Kamaru Usman looked fantastic in the third round, I think, for someone who did not have a good first or second round against Chimaev. So there's a lot of questions to be answered. Now, is Chimaev overtraining himself? We're going to find out in this fight if it gets into rounds 3, 4, and 5. Because, man, I saw that video of Chimaev picking up DC, who's probably pushing 310 right now. He's a big boy. I mean, put it this way. DC posted a video or a picture today of him flexing in the mirror, talking about he has to start getting back in shape and lifting weights. Because of the way Chimaev just picked him up like he was nothing. So, but when you find guys that are that explosive, that are that dynamic, the guy that can shoot from 10 feet away and still get the takedown, they sometimes have a tendency to not have great gas tanks. And that also makes sense. Guys that are that explosive, we've seen it in plenty of times, right? Like, you see Michael Chandler. He doesn't fight smart at all, but he's an explosive fighter. He was when he was a little bit younger. Extremely explosive. But the telltale with him was that he was always take a step back when he needed time to recover and bounce around, shake his arms out, and then try to re-enter. Where Hamzat is the guy that I don't think he's quite figured that out. You saw that in the Gilbert Burns fight. He looked tired. He was fatigued. You could tell he was. But he's the guy that's like, nah, I'm going to mentally push my way through this. I'm going to walk forward. I'm going to try to break you. It's more of a, I know that I can go more. And I'll deal with the consequences once I get there. But I'm going to do whatever I can to break you mentally. If I come forward, you see my big body walking forward towards you, most of you are going to cower to me. Most of you think I'm going to take you down. And if you lose a takedown to me, I'm going to win. So my thoughts on this fight is it is such a close fight. And I think the relatively all the unknowns about Chimaev, because he hasn't fought outside of Kamaru Usman coming off 5 days notice. He's the biggest name that he's fought. Not even Robert Whittaker is a bigger name than Kamaru Usman, at least not in my book. I look at Kamaru Usman as being the bigger name than Robert Whittaker. I'm not taking anything away from Robert Whittaker. On the Robert Whittaker fight, that situation to me was Robert came out after the fight and goes, look, I've had my teeth pushed in like that before, scared the shit out of me then, scared the shit out of me now. He's like, so I shouldn't be having that problem anymore, based on the fact that like I got my teeth fully fixed now. They, took my teeth out, drilled into my gums, whatever. Now I shouldn't have that problem anymore. Whereas he had that problem before. And if anyone knows, been grappling and the jaw lock across the jawline, all of those things makes a huge difference. It's painful. Ask Conor McGregor. Khabib did it to him. That shit is painful. It hurts. And so it almost feels like your jaw is going to break. Almost feels like your jaw is going to get pushed back. You're going to lose your teeth. It is painful. Not everyone taps, but we saw in the Robert Whittaker situation where his teeth actually moved and adjusted, and he has had that happen to him before. I know that I've gotten a lot of hate. Like, oh, you're a Chimaev hater. I'm not a Chimaev hater. I understand how the business works. And how the business works is when you have an undefeated fighter, we got to get him to the title as fast as we can. And somebody who has, like Chimaev's he's got the Middle East backing him, and there's a lot of money in the Middle East, and that's what they want to see succeed. And they say, hey, you want to push this? You've had former fighters that have had success from those regions. Okay, Khabib being one of them, Islam being one. Umar right now is making his run. You've got world-class fighters. Bilal Muhammad, you've got world-class fighters that have made their run. And you have the Middle East supporting those fighters right now. The UFC is like, look, we know where our bread is buttered. Let's go ahead and push him because he's undefeated. I can sell this. I can market this. Now, let's just everyone be prepared. I have not seen a big enough sample size on Chimaev to say that he's that guy. Because what happens if DDP beats him? I just know, because this is what the MMA sport does. He was never that good. That he never fought anybody to get there. And in all fairness, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm saying like he's beat Robert Whittaker, who is getting a little bit older in age. Okay. Also in that fight, had some problems with his teeth, which Chimaev caused. I'm gonna give him credit for that. But Robert's had that issue before. So when I'm looking at this fight, I think until I can see past round 2, which I can't, rounds 1 and 2, I'm gonna give Chimaev those rounds. I'm going to give him those rounds outside of DDP catching him coming in or them getting in some sort of like exchange and DDP hitting him, because Chimaev, he's one of those guys that doesn't have a governor on his vehicle. He just opens it up and let's just see what happens. And I think that's what every fan loves that about him. I love that about him. DDP, on the other hand, is somebody that I think he'll be able to survive on the ground for the first round. I think he'll be able to make it a little bit more difficult for Chimaev as the fight goes on. And what makes DDP so dangerous is nobody else ever really has a sparring partner like this. Very herky-jerky, very Keith Jardine, as we've said before. I feel like he's got really heavy leg kicks, almost like a Benson Henderson, where if you go back and watch some of Benson's fights, fighters will sometimes kind of wilt as they go to kick because they're heavy, like Flintstone feet hitting your legs. So he's got that where it hits you and it knocks you off balance, kind of breaks your rhythm of your striking. Those are things that DDP people don't realize until you get in there and you feel him. How hard does he kick? How much weight is behind it? His punches come from weird angles. There's a lot of, like it goes jab, kind of like uppercut, head kick, just random combinations that traditional style strikers and grapplers and wrestlers, they don't practice. For him, it's out there. He's out there literally just free balling it, just going, hey, whatever happens. I'm gonna throw this, I'm gonna throw that. He's visualizing what's going on, and it comes from different angles. A lot of uppercuts, a lot of like overhand rights, and then followed by a kick, and then comes back with punches. Things that really throw a lot of world-class fighters off. And so that becomes a problem, I think, right off the bat. And so it's very dangerous, I think, in those situations, for Chimaev, because he's not used to having to fight somebody like that. So, hey, I want to thank you guys, Korean Murderer. I want to thank you for the super chat, man. At $20, you're a great person, man. It says, let me read this off. What underdogs besides the champ do you see potentially winning that you would feel confident in adding into a parlay for 2.5 unit? Let me see. Let me, you know what? Let me pull these up and I'll get it to you. Let me pull this up and see exactly what the odds are right now. See how they've shaken out. Look, I know he's not an underdog, but I mean, I had for my dog walk of the week, I had Chase Hooper over Alexander Hernandez. I think Chase Hooper's going to walk right through him. I think he was favored by like, I think it was like 2-1 or maybe even a little bit higher than that when I talked about that. But let me pull up these odds real quick and let me see where they're at, and I'll let you know on that. But there's a lot of questions to be answered, I think, and I believe on this whole situation with Chimaev, because I don't want people to say if he loses, oh, he was never that good. No, DDP is that good. But also, if he wins, I want him to get the credit he deserves. And I'm going to be one of the first ones to line up because, look, I'm also one of the first ones to put my foot in my mouth and go, yeah, like he's got problems with his cardio, or either he's got problems with cutting weight. He's got problems with his lungs, or he's got problems cutting weight. And now at 185, where he's kind of been established at the moment, for a long period of time, I think that we're going to get those answers in this fight. Like I said about the Usman fight, I was talking with Angelo this morning. I said, hey, the fight with Usman is that you're fighting someone who can wrestle. You're fighting someone who, like, it changes your mentality. You were supposed to fight Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz has no wrestling. None. Like zero. Zilch. And he's a lot more explosive than Nate Diaz. But fighting Kamaru Usman, he can sprawl and brawl. That he can stuff some takedowns. The fear is there. The mentality has to change. That affects with your cardio. That creates an adrenaline dump. And so, okay, let me get into these. Let's see. You have Aaron Pico, Lerone Murphy. You've got Jeff Neal, Carlos Prates. Look, Jeff Neal can catch somebody. Okay, look, I think Carlos Prates, being the guy that he is, there's a lot more diversity of what he can do. Kicks, punches, flying knees, spinning kicks. He was great at getting back up to his feet in his last fight. Like, he can fight, man. That guy can fight. Jeff Neal has just got power, and he will take a shot to give a shot, and he'll come forward. We saw him do such a great job against Shavkat, and Shavkat's a taller, longer fighter than Prates. So I wouldn't count Jeff Neal out, and he's a plus 195. I would consider that possibly if you're going to take maybe a fight, because Prates coming off of a loss as well. Is he the same fighter? Losses affect your mentality. They affect your confidence a little bit. You also realize you don't want to lose 2 in a row. And so that puts a little bit more pressure on you to perform. Oh man, my UFC contract, man, I don't want to lose 2 in a row. Like, that starts affecting how you perform. You play it safe. Do you fight safe? Jeff Neal doesn't fight safe. He just comes forward, tries to land the big shot, holds you against the fence, dirty boxes you. He does it all. You got Jared Cannonier at plus 162 over MVP. I think MVP is going to win the fight. That being said, Jared Cannonier, I think both of them at the age they are, Jared Cannonier's got a better chin. Jared Cannonier's got more power. MVP's got better movement and a lot faster. I think MVP has been doing what he's done for his whole life. He sticks and moves, and he's able to keep from getting hit. But there is always that one moment when you can't, like the Roy Jones effect. Roy Jones was fantastic until he started getting a little bit older, and he was slightly behind, and those fighters were able to catch him. And once they started catching him, he was getting knocked out all the time. So MVP lives that dangerous life of just missing the punches, being slightly outside of range. And if he continues to do that, one day someone's going to catch him. Douglas Lima caught him the one time, trying to get up. The way he got up, Douglas Lima was able to catch him and put him out. I mean, I've seen MVP, get hit a little bit, get rocked a little bit, and come back and still able to win. But in this situation, he is older since I've been calling his fights. Cannonier, I knew was older as well. Cannonier, I think, is 41, I think. MVP is 38. But 37, 38 is like that age where your speed really starts to show, where you start getting hit by shots you didn't used to get hit by. Let me go down here. You've got Tim Elliott, Kai Asakura. Tim Elliott's a dog. He can win this fight anywhere. He can win this fight on the ground. We have a hard time winning on the feet, but don't look for him to stay on the feet for too long. He's going to use his striking to get this fight to the ground. And if he does, I think he has a good chance. You saw him with Demetrius Johnson, who's one of the best grapplers at 125 pounds. He did fantastic against DJ. And I know that was back then, but Kai Asakura is not anywhere near DJ's grappling. Even back then, he's not as good as DJ on the ground. You've got who do you got here? You got Jessica Andrade, Lupe Godinez. Chase Hooper's a huge favorite at minus 325. You've got Edson Barbosa and Jakar Close. Where are you at? Where are you at on this? Okay, so Ruzbelev versus Brian Battle. I could see Ruzbelev winning this fight could be it's going to be a fantastic fight, but I can see Rusbulov winning that fight. Outside of that, man, I really couldn't give you much more on those fights. I would look. In no way am I going to go against my boy Aaron Pico. So I don't even give advice on that. But I will say this: Lerone Murphy scares me more than Evloev did. The fight style itself, it gives me a little bit more fear because Lerone Murphy is dangerous. The speed of Lerone Murphy, the ability to kick, the switching of his combinations, like he's a true stand-up martial artist. Like he's got a lot of tools in his weapons, or a lot of weapons in his toolbox. So that fight does scare me for him. Whereas the Evloev fight didn't scare me really because I thought Aaron Pico was the better wrestler, or they would even just neutral each other out. But on the feet, I had Aaron Pico being a way better striker than Evloev. On this fight, Pico's got more power than Lerone, but I think Lerone's got the more tricks up his sleeve on the stand-up. And so when I'm talking about this fight, I just want my boy Aaron Pico to win. I know you guys that listen to my podcast understand that I'm normally very biased for my friends. And so I'm going to go ahead and continue to be that way with Aaron because Aaron is such a great person. One of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. Absolutely one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. So hopefully I answered your question there, Korean Murderer. Thanks for the super chat, man. If you guys have more questions, drop them below. Drop some super chats as well. I want to thank you guys so much. But look, my final thoughts on this fight with the Khamzat and Dricus du Plessis is in this situation, there's so many questions that need to be answered still with Chimaev. With DDP, we know that he's done everything. People are going to say the same thing probably about DDP if he loses. He was never that good. That's not true. This division at 185 pounds is the most stacked. It's the most stacked it's ever been since this weight class was created. You've got Sean Strickland, you've got Izzy, you've got Kai Bahalo, you got Imavov, you've got Chimaev, you got DDP. I mean, you've got that whole first 8. I mean, let me take a look at this. That whole first 8, maybe even more. Yeah, Fluffy Hernandez, great performance. That's, he's number 7 right now. Robert Whitaker, former champion, who's getting older. Brendan Allen starting to make his run up. You know what I mean? Brendan's been looking good. Jared Cannonier is number 9. You got Paulo Costa, number 12. You got Marvin Vittori beyond that, and you've got Kopylov and Abus Magomedov. This is the most stacked 185 pounds the middleweight division has ever been since the conception of this weight class. Ever. It's not even negotiable. These are the best guys that have ever. And so the fact that people are like, and the fact that DDP, the guy who doesn't look the part, the guy that we've all ruled out it seems like every time he fights, he's the underdog. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. The guy doesn't look the part, doesn't win the weight, doesn't have the technique of all the other guys that's in this weight class. But damn, he's good. He's the champ. He's defended his title multiple times. So I'm not ready to count him out. I'm my personal self, because I haven't seen enough of the Chimaev fighting top level competition, whereas I've seen DDP fight several guys in top level competition. I have not seen enough of it from Chimaev. I'm going to lean towards DDP. That's my final thought on this, is I'm leaning towards DDP. Now, Chimaev may come out and just starch him in the first 2 rounds. That may possibly happen. May starch him in the first 30 seconds or a minute and a half in this fight. He may do it. And then I'm still going to be stuck wondering, like, what's he like in rounds 3, 4, 5? Until someone gets him there. I mean, those questions will have to be answered later. But I think this fight's going to end up being a 3 to 4 round fight. And it really just depends on Chimaev's cardio and how it all, and if it's really affected by the weight cut, if it's COVID lungs, does he overtrain? And I'll be able to tell. I honestly will be able to tell if we get into rounds 3, 4, and 5, and I can see, I'll be able to tell whether he is, if it was the weight cut, whether it was him being overtrained, or if it's the lungs. Because when you're overtrained, you get little spurts. You'll be able to get spurts of like, okay, I can go now, because your body can recover fast. But then it only lasts about 15 seconds. That's an overtrained fighter, and that happens the whole time. You're like, yeah, I got it. Boom, boom, I go, and you're fresh and you feel good. And then 15 seconds in, you're exhausted. Can't lift your arms. COVID lungs is you literally just can't breathe. It's like fighting at altitude. That's from what I understand from talking to my buddy Chris Brennan, whose son is Lucas Brennan. Chris Brennan was, a former fighter, it's fought a lot of top level guys, and he's somebody that he's got COVID lungs. And so he's like, man, it's like you're fucking drowning. Like you can't get a breath. He's like, you just can't go. There's no push. Muscles can't go. Nothing can go. Just can't breathe. It's almost like having asthma. So you'll be able to tell. I also put into the category overtrained and cutting too much weight. Probably very similar. Very similar. Overtrained, I think it happens even sooner, a round and a half. Cutting too much weight, probably by round 2, probably by the end of round 2, maybe 3, 4. Somewhere in there, you cut too much weight. You start to die out, like you saw where Islam, when he fought Volkanovski the first fight. He cuts a lot of weight, and by the 40, I'd say by the third round, he started looking tired. By round 4, he was exhausted. Round 5, it was like just hanging on. But he still won enough rounds, still won 4 rounds out of the 5. I think that's where you have the cutting too much weight, which I don't think we're going to see. I think we're going to see either overtrained or COVID lungs if he does start to slow down too much. Those are the two things I see. But I also see him potentially dominating the first 2 rounds for a stoppage. So my final thoughts are, I'm leaning towards DDP. I think DDP gets it done as the fight goes on throughout if it gets into that rounds, end of round 2, I go 3, 4, and 5. I think DDP probably loses. I think for sure loses round 1. Round 2, it's a 50-50 toss. I think because DDP is going to come out. It depends on how well round 1 went. Did he? Sure, he got dominated, but was that almost a 10-8 like the Kamaru Usman one? We'll see. But I mean, this fight is so interesting to so many people because there's so many options out there. There's so many things in so many ways it could go. And how quick the UFC fans, not UFC, the MMA fans will be like, Chimaev wasn't that good if he loses. No, he was. He is. Having lung problems is a big deal. Learning to teach your body to not overtrain. I was the biggest culprit of overtraining. Take a look at my KJ Noon fight. That was a fighter that was completely overtrained. I way overtrained in the KJ Noon's fight. You look at, and by the end of round 1, I was done. I could barely survive. I could barely push, but like it was spurts. And like I was talking about, I was able to fight in spurts. And once I got the takedowns, I was like, okay, I'm good. I can rest because I can hold this position. That's what I'm talking. Go back and watch my KJ Noon's fight. That's being completely overtrained. Just destroyed my body in that fight, in that camp. I just did way too much. Because the UFC had just bought Strikeforce. So I was like pushing myself. I'm going to show them how good I am. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do this, this, and this. Man, I killed myself. I was running half marathons on every Sunday. I was out there running 13 and a half, 14 miles every Sunday, just pushing myself, pretty much no days off. Like all of a sudden I just forgot I had to train like I was an idiot. Chimaev is young enough to where he's literally still trying to learn those ways. But once you get the itch, you can't stop. It's like you just feel like you can always do more. If I push myself harder, if I could do more. When the reality is you should let your body recover. So Chimaev, I believe, we're going to find out a lot about him in this fight. I think this fight gets into rounds 3, 4, and 5. If he looks great and spectacular, then the UFC has themselves a long-time star. Absolute long-time star. And DDP, he's already a star. A whole continent behind him. A whole country obviously behind him. But, I mean, he's got all of Africa, I believe, supporting him. So that's my final thoughts on that fight. But let's go ahead and jump right into the Aaron Pico fight, though, with Lerone Murphy. I know we talked a little bit about that fight when I was talking with the Korean Murderer. Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. And a lot of people were, like, hey, what do you mean that Evloev was an easier fight? No, it wasn't an easier fight. Neither fight is an easy fight. But for me, what I look at is stylistically, the Evloev fight versus Aaron Pico, given Aaron Pico's wrestling pedigree, was, to me, it wasn't an easier fight, but it worked out better for him. It was something that I felt like he could definitely stuff Evloev's takedowns, and he could also potentially get takedowns. Aaron Pico's got nasty ground and pound from the top position. He's got shorter legs, long arms, and kind of a little bit longer torso than he does for his legs, which means that if someone has their feet on your hips, if you guys have never trained in MMA, if you guys have never, let me explain this to you. If someone has their feet on your hips and you have a short torso, your body is automatically a little bit lower to the ground. If I've got long arms, I got that little bit longer upper body, I can kind of hover over you and still land huge shots. Okay, there was a guy named Ricky Fukuda that I used to train with out of Japan. He used to come to AKA all the time. I kid you not. His legs were like maybe 2.5 feet, like tall. There was nothing. It's like, I swear, he seemed so, his lower legs were so short, but his upper body was really long. And he didn't have really long arms, but it just looked long because his legs were so short. But man, he could stand over you and you could kick him back and he could still hit you as you were kicking him away from you because his legs didn't have very far to go. And he could stand over you and do ground and pound. Nasty. Aaron Pico has that ability. He has the ability to out wrestle Evloev. He has the ability to ground and pound him out, ability to nullify all the submissions. And on the feet, he had way more power than Evloev did in terms of boxing and a lot better boxing. But in this fight with Lerone Murphy, as Big John was saying, I haven't quite seen it as much as Big John has. Big John said I've seen Lerone Murphy get tired in rounds 3. Now there is some controversy in this. Is this a 5-round fight? Because Podcast Dave looked it up when we did our midweek show, and it said it was a 5-round fight. But I believe some people have said that it's a 3-round fight. So I don't know if it was Evloev was supposed to be the 5-round fight, and then Lerone Murphy stepped in, and now it's a 3-round fight. But in a 3-round fight, Lerone Murphy's got a good chance of winning this fight. Aaron Pico's got a good chance of winning this fight. I look at it more of like a 60-40 Aaron Pico for a 3-round fight. A 5-round fight, I look at more 80-20 because to keep Aaron Pico off of you and the way he pushes the pace and he can box your head off and he can also wrestle the shit out of you. So I'm going to lean more towards Aaron Pico in this fight. In both situations, but it's a 50-50, more of a 50-50 fight for me in three rounds. Lerone Murphy, dangerous. Punching combinations come from all different angles. Fast, explosive, real crafty on the feet. Utilizes his kicks. Pico's going to have to keep his hands loyal to his chin. There's a lot of things. And if I'm somebody that has ever watched Aaron Pico fight, which I've seen almost all of his fights, I actually have seen every single one of his fights because I've called a lot of them cage side and I've called a lot of them from the desk and I've broken his fights down from beginning to end. If I've gone back, if I'm Lerone Murphy and I wanted to know more about Aaron Pico, what are the things that worked against you before in the past? Flying knees, push kicks up the middle, all the things that are known to nullify wrestlers, things that make them guess before they wrestle. Problem is now you got to be careful because Aaron Pico's boxing is fantastic. You got to be careful of the overhand rights. You got to be careful of the left hooks. Aaron Pico's got one of the nastiest left hooks. Spar with him. He sat me to my butt one time sparring with him with a left hook. Boom. Hit me beautifully. Sat me right to my ass. So he's got power. And that was with 16-ounce gloves. Do it with an MMA glove now. He's explosive. He's got great boxing, great wrestling. Fantastic, man. Fantastic. So I look at this fight. My final thoughts on this fight are Aaron Pico's going to be it's going to be a close fight if it's 3 rounds. If it's 5 rounds, I think Aaron Pico starts to take over by the end of round 2, and he runs away with it after that. Now, I don't know how round 2 is going to go, but I mean, rounds 1, Lerone's going to be sticking and moving on the outside, be able to keep him at bay, try to avoid the big shot. He's got to avoid that big shot, but can he land his big shot in the process? That's going to be a lot of the question because Pico's gotten a lot smarter since training at Greg Jackson's in terms of how he fights. And he'll tell you it himself. He'll say, man, I was a kid. I was a baby. And I was like, yeah, you were. But damn, you're so good now. So composed, so relaxed, world-class mentality out there. That world-class wrestling mentality he's taken into fighting. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal, matured. He's just a full-blown man right now, physically and also I think mentally just has matured so much. Has a baby boy, focused on his career. His life is fighting. His life is his family and his son. Everything is falling into shape into place for him. And I don't think he plans on losing it. He knows this is a huge opportunity for him. But how will he react to his first fight in the UFC, being the co-main event on one of the biggest cards of the year against somebody who's undefeated, who doesn't know how to lose? Lerone Murphy doesn't know how to lose. 16-0-1. So there's a lot to be said there. I lean obviously because he's my boy. I'm going to lean with Aaron Pico. But this is to me a little bit more dangerous of a fight than the Evloev fight because you don't know because Lerone Murphy can do it from anywhere. he can, with the style of his stand-up, will give Aaron some fits at the beginning until Aaron tries to figure it out. And if Aaron figures it out, it's going to be a tough night for Lerone Murphy. And can Lerone Murphy stay on his bike long enough? Go back to what Corey Sandhagen said when he fought Umar Nurmagomedov. Man, I was doing really well until I realized I was running too much and I was moving too much, and he got fatigued and he got tired. And guess what? When that happened, he started slowing down. Takedowns came a little easier. Shots started landing. Lerone Murphy can't afford in a 5-round fight, can't afford to move so much by rounds 3, 4, and 5. He'll be exhausted and he'll start getting hit more. And you start getting hit more by Aaron Pico, you're going to sleep. So Lerone's got his work cut out for him, but in a 3-round fight, I make it a closer fight. I think Aaron still wins 60-40, but it's going to be a closer fight. In a 5-round fight, I give it to Aaron Pico. It's going to be probably closer to 80-20, 75-25 kind of position. So I'm leaning that way. That's my final thoughts on Lerone and Aaron Pico. Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates, great fight. Absolutely great fight. But before we get to that, Alejandro Gutierrez, do you think Calavita will let Khamzat overtrain? The reason why I say no, he will not let Khamzat overtrain is he does a great job of making sure that his fighters are sleeping with their heart rate monitor on. And what he does is he says, hey, send me your data from the night you slept. So that, Alejandro Gutierrez, great point. Sam Calavita is known for making sure that his athletes don't overtrain. Is they get their workout in. He's okay, I'm going to go hit mitts later, okay? You report back to Sam Calavita and going, hey, I did this tonight. Okay, cool. Let's get some rest. Okay, your heart beats this per minute, and this is what you're waking up. This is what your resting heart rate was when you slept. This is what you woke up at. Nope, you need more rest. So let's go ahead and skip the morning workout. Let's get you some food. Let's get you hydrated. And then we're gonna check back in with you later this evening. We're gonna give in. They still do stuff, but it's called an active recovery. So an active recovery would be like, okay, let's just go for a walk today. Or let's just jump on a bike and just kind of like cruise for, 20 minutes at a slow pace. Just let your body move. Get the blood flowing. And while you're doing all that, you're eating. You're eating all the right things. Getting some berries, some oatmeal, some berries, some oatmeal, some yogurt, some, a little bit of chicken, a little bit of this, a little bit of, chicken breast, a little bit of chicken thigh, whatever it is that you need at that moment for your body to recover, given whatever the stats are that's sent to Sam Calavita. Oh, you're a little dehydrated. Oh, your testosterone's you can get tests done too, as some of these fighters will be like, oh, your testosterone's a little bit low because you're dehydrated. So let's go ahead and get you hydrated a little bit more. Let's get some more fluid in you. Those are all things that Sam Calavita will do. And so that's why I said when I was talking about the Chimaev situation, in my mind, Sam Calavita is going to make sure that he is on point physically. So we'll know that either he's overtrained or he put on too much weight, maybe cut a little bit too much weight. I doubt that's going to be a problem because he's can make 170 or has made 170. So he knows how to cut weight and recover it pretty well. Or is it COVID lungs? Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. I think, look, Carlos Prates is an absolute animal. Absolute animal, okay? Smoking the week of the fight, I'm a little against that, but it is what it is. He said it actually helps me keep my diet down, keep my weight down. So I get that part. I understand that part. I've never smoked, but I've heard that it keeps you from wanting to eat. So I can get it. It's probably no different than having a cup of coffee. Just a little bit more maybe intense, that kind of thing. Carlos Prates, though, he brings something that Jeff Neal doesn't bring. It's the unknown of where the punches and kicks are coming from. Is it a leg kick? Is it an inside kick? Is it a body kick? Is it a jab with the body kick? Is it is it a spinning kick? Whatever it is it the combinations are coming from all over. So, but Jeff Neal fought someone named Shavkat and had a pretty damn good fight against him up until the moment where he got caught. He got tired at the end. But that fight was a very good fight. He was pushing Shavkat better than anyone had ever pushed Shavkat. Basically past the first round. So when I'm looking at how this fight should be done, I'm going to lean towards Carlos Prates because he's got more tools and weapons. What scares me about me taking Carlos Prates on this fight is that he's coming off a loss. And anytime you come off a loss, like, what's your mentality? Where are you at mentally? Your confidence was on an all-time high. Like, oh, UFC loves me. fighting nerds, all this stuff, right? Like they love our gym, they love all of us, Kai Bahalo, they love, Jean Silva, they love all of us. But now I lost. Do they love me? If I lose 2 in a row, what's gonna happen to me? Like those things start going through your mind. You start believing like, shit, if I lose this fight, man, like I can end up back, fighting no name guys, and how's that affect my money? Is my contract coming up? What do I got to do to make sure I get some money out of this? So, but Jeff Neal's kind of one of those guys. Like I saw an interview he did the other day. He's still working as a waiter. He's just doing it on the side. He's like, I still make good money. It's a little extra cash. He's like, I got nothing else to do. He's like, I train, then I go work, as a waiter, make some money. Then I go train again. He's like, I love my tables. I love everyone there. Been there for years. Doesn't want to leave. I get it. Look, fighting is going to generate you a lot of money, especially in this day and age with the new deal and everything coming around. But just remember, you have another 40 years to live after you're done fighting. If you make it to fighting until you're 40, I made it to 39, almost 40 years old when I stopped fighting. Your money goes fast once you're done. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So, Jeff Neal, Prates, my final thoughts on that is that Carlos Prates he's going to be able to keep the distance, circle, stay away. He's going to be able to land some big kicks. Prates got power as well. Will Jeff Neal walk into something, or will he be able to finish Prates with his own hands? Because Jeff Neal's got some power. He's got some power. So, but that to me is probably has the potential of being one of those fights that could just be a dog fight. Because Prates is wild and crazy. Remember Ricardo Mayorga? I think he's the guy that used to step on the scale for boxing when he fought De La Hoya, smoking a cigarette. Same, very, very reminds me of him as well. Big John and I were talking about it. Jared Cannonier versus MVP. Final thoughts on this fight is great fight. But Jared Cannonier is like, I'm going to walk him down and knock him out. That's what everybody says. Everybody says that. And then even Ian Gary, guy who's extremely fast, guy who has great movement, great striker, all of a sudden turned into a wrestler. So that's what scares me. Jared Cannonier is 41 years old. Ian Gary's like 29 or something, 27. So he was having a hard time with MVP speed. MVP is fast. He makes everybody believes that they're going to be able to touch him, and then they can't touch him. So when I'm talking about what I think is going to happen in this fight, I think, look, Jared Cannonier's got to find a way to get his hands on him. If he can get his hands on him, get him to the fence and make it like a Randy Couture style fight, keep the underhook, dirty box him to the body, dirty box him in the uppercuts, into the chin, couple little elbows, make it a grimy fight, start to kind of wear on him a little bit, threaten a couple takedowns. If you can get him, great. If you can't, don't hang out down there too much. But at this point in stage, right, like MVP, his speed is kind of going a tiny bit, not too much. That's, I think, why he went up to 185 pounds versus staying at 170, where fighters are generally a little bit faster than that 85 pounders. But all of that, with that being said, is I think MVP is going to be able to stick and move until Cannonier gets his hands on him. Can he get his hands on him? Can he cut him off? I'm going to say no. I think MVP is going to be able to stick and move, keep his chin away, and make Cannonier chase him. And that's how this fight's going to end up going. Tim Elliott, Kyle Sakura. Man, final thoughts on this fight to me. Tim Elliott is somebody that people continuously overlook, but he's good everywhere. The guy can fight. The guy can get down. He's got great grappling. He mixes up on the wrestling. Like, he's got good stand-up. It's not Kai Sakura stand-up, but he can stand a little bit with Kai. You just got to make sure you don't get clipped. Kai's got more power. There's no doubt about that. Kai's the more explosive fighter. No doubt about that. Kai's the faster fighter. No doubt about that. Kai can mix up the boxing and the kicking better than Tim Elliott. But Tim Elliott's a more well-rounded fighter. And those are the guys that I have a tendency to lean towards. Now, I was looking at the betting odds. I believe the betting odds has Kai Sakura up, I think, by a lot. So he's got him up by a lot. I mean, I'm not ready to jump on that bandwagon yet. Kai's a great fighter. I think he's fantastic. Tim Elliott's fantastic. This is a very tough fight to call. He's like I said, he's faster, which generally leads, especially in the lower divisions. It's speed kills. And the ability to touch him and then still be able to out wrestle and sprawl and brawl and keep away from the legs, that kind of thing. Kyle Sakura is that guy. He's just got to stay off of his back. He's got to keep Tim Elliott off of his back. So I would lean more towards Kai Asakura in this fight, but it would not surprise me if Tim Elliott's able to get this fight to the ground and finish it. The last fight that we're not. We're going to talk about the last fight on this is Jarro Morshart versus Macau Olishik. However you say this guy's name. I murder it every single time, you guys. So bear with me on the name stuff. But when I'm sitting here going, all right, cool. I'm picking this fight. Jarro Morshart's got to get this fight to the ground as fast as possible. If he doesn't get this fight to the ground, he's gonna be a lot of trouble. Because Macau is he's a lot better of a striker. He's got more power. He can take a shot, he can give a shot. But I mean, I'm looking at that fight and I'm thinking to myself, man, I definitely would lean more towards Macau winning the fight versus Jarro Morshart. But Jarro Morshart, if he gets this fight to the ground, he changes the way people fight. Like people literally like punch and run. Jarro Morshart just got to walk forward, move his head offline, and try to get into that clinch. Land one or two shots. Morshart's striking has gotten a lot better, just not on the level of Oleshajek, whatever his name is. So that's going to be a good fight. I like that fight. Jessica Andrade versus Lupe Godinez. Jessica Andrade is a little bit older. Hasn't been performing very well as of lately. Lupita Godinez she's good. She is going to be a take a shot, give a shot. Can she do that with Jessica Andrade? That's the question. Can she do it? And does she have to? Like, she can hang out. She can hang on a Jessica. She can press her to the fence. She can make her tired, start to try to slow her down. How will Godinez fight this fight? Will she fight it in a smart way? Will she try to wrestle a little bit, try to control Jessica Andrade? You know, Jessica, how will the weight cut get to her? Because she's going back down to strawweight. This fight's at strawweight, so that's a tough fight. Chase Hooper and Alexander Hernandez. In my mind, Chase Hooper to me has now become a full-blown man. I know he's older. I know he's already in the man status thing. But if you guys go back to when he first came into the sport, he just wasn't built like that. He still had like the little kid body, you know, real skinny, like, you know, no real muscle definition. Over the last two fights, he's filling out, extremely filling out. His chest is filling out, arms are filling out, back, all those things. Physically getting stronger. He's tall, long, lanky. And those of you guys that watch our podcast know that's dangerous. You know, that style of body, or that body style in this sport is dangerous. Anderson Silva, John Jones. I mean, like, the list goes on and on and on. MVP, like, the list goes on and on about guys that are tall, long, and lanky and the success that they've had throughout the career in MMA. They're just difficult to deal with. You know, Chase can hit you with a long jab from an extra 2 feet away. And then if you overrush and commit, then I can grapple you. I can just, you know, pull you down into my guard, or I could, you know, shoot a double leg. And if I don't get it, then I can just full back into my guard and try to attack a leg, or go to X guard and try to get back up and sweep you. Like, there's options there. There's all options in terms of how Chase Hooper can fight this fight. Alexander Hernandez is someone who he normally has a decent first round. And then as he starts to slow down, he starts getting hit a little bit more. And as he gets hit a little bit more, that's when the problems happen. You know, and then he starts either fighting reckless or he starts to wilt. Chase Hooper, to me, though, is going to be someone who is going to start to hang on his head, make Hernandez tired, make Hernandez feel uncomfortable, which then he starts to use more energy, and then he starts to get more tired. I'm going to lean towards Chase Hooper. I think he ends up getting the finish and the submission in this fight at some point, somehow, some way, whether it's a ground and pound or whether it's just control from the back, whatever it is. I figure a way Chase Hooper is going to win this fight. To me, the fight really, I think the best fight probably on this card will end up being Edson Barbosa versus Jakar Close. This to me is a fantastic, fantastic fight. Someone's going to get knocked out. I don't see this fight going past 2 rounds. Somebody's going to get knocked out. I don't know who, but this is a fan favorite fight. This is one of those fights where you go, damn, someone's going to lose this fight and they're going to lose it badly. So Jakar has got big power in his hands. You know, he's been clipped and knocked out before, but he's also clipped and knocked other people out. Edson Barbosa brings the kicks. How will Jakar deal with the kicks? I don't know. We're going to find out. But I'm going to lean towards Edson Barbosa winning this fight, only based on the fact that the kicks do play a huge factor on how Jakar Close fights this fight. Does he get caught with something to the liver? Does he get caught with something to the head because he was defending the liver? Like, all those things play a factor on how Edson Barbosa fights this fight in terms of how many kicks he delivers to the body, to the head, whether inside, outside of the leg. The kicks will be a huge factor in this fight. Last fight I'm going to talk about, though, on this are my final thoughts for UFC 319. And if you guys have any questions, because I'm going to cover this Bryan Battle and Ruzbelev fight, drop me some fan questions in there, or drop me some questions in there, and I'll go ahead and get to them before I wrap this thing up. Bryan Battle versus Ruzbelev. Just an overall great fight. Bryan Battle, I don't understand why he's this far down on the card. He's somebody that every time he gets in there, he has a great fight. It's fun. It's entertaining. Takes a lot of damage sometimes, but then he gets on the mic and just starts calling out countries. Oh, France and Paris, you guys are weak. I know you guys are not booing me. Like, that type of shit is what the UFC loves, which throws me off that he's so far down. I don't know if it's because he doesn't look the part. I don't know if it's whatever it is. For some reason, he's not getting the love he deserves. Love watching him fight. Love when he gets on the mic. He's fun. He reminds me of like a younger version of a Moicano who like later didn't figure out what he had to do until he got a hold of the mic. Then he got a hold of the mic and I'm like, okay, there you go. That's what we want to see. You had a great fight coming off a great win. Get that mic. Tell them what you really think of them. That's how you build your fan base. So he's learning the way. He is young. He is learning the way. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. I'm going to lean towards Bryan Battle on this fight. He just got too much dog in him. And then also Ruzbelev, he's 36-9. That's, what is that, 40-something? Yeah, 50, almost 50 fights. Got 50 fights. That's insane. So we're getting to that, like, there's miles on that. There's tons of miles on how your body's been beaten up. And also, too, with 9 losses, you know how to lose now. Not that you're going to give up. None of that. But Bryan Battle is still 12. He's 12-2. And still young. Still wanting to push. Still wanting to, like, go out there and prove himself. This guy is, he's finding his own. He's figuring out who he is inside that cage. And that's a very dangerous fighter to have to deal with. Very dangerous fighter. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, go ahead and drop me some questions down here below if you guys want. I'll do another probably 10, 15 minutes, and we can go from there, man. Outside of that, I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Also, use the link down below in the descriptions, okay, for your drink element. Check them out. They will send you a free bonus package with every purchase, courtesy of the Weigh In Podcast. So I want to thank you guys so much. Let me see what you guys got. What time is the press? I don't know what time the press conference is. Main reason because he hit the miss. Let me see. Drop me some questions on here. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, am I doing a live stream and watch along on Saturday? I haven't figured that out yet, but if you guys hit that little thumbs up and the bell for notifications on our YouTube channel, I will probably post the thumbnail and schedule it somewhere in the midday for you guys. So you guys will know whether I'm doing the watch along for that event. But sometimes I like to watch the event so I can talk about it throughout. But I've also noticed that I'm enjoying it more doing the watch along. So there's a good chance that I'll probably end up doing the watch along because I have fun with you guys. You guys jump on the pod. You guys are on there asking questions. I'm really enjoying that portion of it all. So it's been fun. And man, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut out of here. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. And by all means, I will see you guys probably on the live stream Saturday night. Don't miss it. If I do the live stream, it'll probably only be for the main card. So it would only be for the very first card on the main event, and then I'll go all the way up through the main event. So it'll only be for the main card. It won't be for all the prelims and everything. So hit that bell and notifications. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on our podcast here. I want to thank you guys from the Weigh In Podcast. From me to you, thank you guys, and we are out.